Hello everyone, welcome back to day 2 of summer camp takeover. So today is the 19th of July and we are looking at Freyr. So today I am doing what I like to do often, which is a little bit of storytelling, and hopefully I can show you how to, conceptualize a story. If you're looking at working in a theme, such as I'm working with Freyr today, that you can pull together different things in your stash, in your home, and you can put together a story for your journal. So anyhow, let me tell you a little again about the challenge. So this is a collaboration between myself, Priscilla Release the Craftin, who organized this, Belle at Bellaboo Creations, Kim at Serene Bookworks, and April from Pink Odd Bird. So this week I'm your counselor here at Studioloo, and my theme again is summer mythology or summer myths. So you will have 5 videos from me today. We have just left a week of really fun cryptids related material from Release the Craftin. If you have not yet done so, and you're taking part or you want to catch up and take part, you can do so with us to win a prize at the end of all of this, or be entered to win a prize. So this is where you should be today. We're in week 2, day 2 of the summer myths. So we're going to work on our Freyr project. So let me put this little summer camp takeover info away and I will jump into Freyr. So who is Freyr? First, let me apologize if I mispronounce anything at this point, because I'll be delving into a few different languages that are not my own native tongue. I'm also just going to kind of tear this up while I tell you a little bit about Freyr. So Freyr is Old Norse for the word Lord. Sometimes it's anglicized as Frey. And Freyr is a widely attested god in Norse mythology, associated with sacral kinship, fertility, peace, prosperity, and virility, as well as with sunshine, fair weather, and good harvest. So he's very summery. Sometimes he's referred to as Yngvi Freyr. Pardon my cutting out voice. I had this little laryngitis thing going on. Yngvi Freyr was especially associated with Sweden, and he's seen as an ancestor of the Swedish royal house. He's also associated with peace and pleasure, and he's often been represented as a phallic statue in the temple at Uppsala, as well as other depictions throughout art and history. So today, I'll tell you a little more about him in a second, but I want to show you what I'm going to be working with as my material for Freyr. So I found this book actually in my stash in my library, and it's another way you can, find out how to create interesting characters. So this is called Vertigo Visions, artwork from the cutting edge of comics. So today we're looking for kind of a muscly kind of guy who's, we can turn him into a god easily, a summery kind of person. So I went through this book, and there's a lot of art in this book of all different kinds. It's all comic book kind of, many different themes. So what I was looking for was somebody like this that I can mold and shape. And this is kind of a completely different theme, right? So I will change it up. The other kinds of material that I would recommend that are kind of off the wall or off the beaten path, that you could use for creating gods or men who are, you're looking to represent them as muscly or strong, or, that physical depiction that you might be looking for, are actually vintage Playgirl magazines. Clearly there will be nudity, so you can cut that up however you like, as well as like mythology books, or those romance novels that often have like Fabio on the front, or like some other character who's not actually a real person. Those would work well for depicting a god. Assuming you're looking for that like physical kind of stereotype of what a god looks like, right? The mythology of a god. So all of that being said, if I haven't scared you with my reference to Playgirl magazine, we'll be okay. I'm not gonna pull one out. I did look and see if I had one, because I do have some vintage vintage books. That story's for another day, but I couldn't find the right kind of person. So back to Freyr. In the mythological stories in Icelandic books, Freyr is presented as one of the Vanir, and he's the twin brother of the goddess Freyja. The gods have given him the realm of the elves as a teething present. What really excited me about Freyr, however, is that he rides a shining dwarf-made boar named Gullinbursti, or Julinbursti, again apologizing, who he also possesses a ship. I'm not going to try to say the name of the ship, which always has a favorable breeze, and it can be carried, folded together, and put in a pouch when he's not using it. He's also been associated with the horse cult. He's kept sacred horses in his sanctuary in Trondheim in Norway. Hopefully I said Trondheim correctly. I know I have at least one viewer there. Hi. And also, the most extensive surviving Freyr myth that people hear the most is about when he fell in love with who became his wife. I'm going to say this name very wrong. The female Jotun Geror, or Gerard, G-E-R-O with the umlaut R. So she becomes his wife, but in order to win her, he has to give away his sword, which actually it fights on its own if he who is wielding it is wise, is what they say. So, he's given up this big advantage to make her his wife. So even though he's deprived of his weapon, he then has to defeat someone named Jotun Belli with an antler. So I'm thinking about antler elements as well. However, when he didn't have his sword, he would be killed by the fire Jotun Sutur during the events of Ragnarok. So, like other Germanic deities, veneration of Freyr is revived in the modern period through the heathenry movement. So, that's kind of where to go if you're looking for Freyr legend. So I was really excited about our friend here, Gullinbursti, or Julinbursti, our golden beautiful boar. And what I did was I just kind of checked out Pixabay for an image of a boar, and then I popped it into Photoshop, changed the hues a bit to make him golden so that we could have him to be, hanging out with Freyr here, or what will become of Freyr. So the other thing I want to do is I want to make some antlers. I want to kind of figure out how I want this to come together. I want to use some collage elements, and I want to think about harvest and summer and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start looking for some things that I can use in my collage. So just give me a moment and I will pull together those materials. Okay, so I've gathered kind of a mishmash of things as my brain is working on this story. So I grabbed one of my seed catalogs from this year, thinking about harvest. I grabbed this I Wonder Why book about why trees have leaves. It's got a lot of different sort of plant and whatever stuff in it. I thought it might be of use if I need anything. And also I just liked this really summary book page that I have in my bin of things that I'm cutting out. So let me just tidy my desk a little here. Okay, so what we need to do first, I think, is we need to figure out what size do we want this to be. I know I want to use this is a piece of really old scrapbook from a 1920s scrapbook, and so yeah, I want to use that as the backing. And I think what I want to make here is a large journal card. So I'm just going to take some of that off. And then I'm going to size this down a little bit here. There. So that scrap is going to be the size, I think, of this. So next, I think we need to cut out what we want to use as our depiction of Freyr. So there's going to be trimming of these wings, and he cannot keep his sword because that's part of the whole story, right? He loses his sword. And we'll get rid of those wings because he's not a fairy of any kind or an angel or anything. So we don't need the wings. I might keep the wings for something else though, because that could be fun. Set those aside. And then we have to just kind of cut a little around his hand here. So hopefully this kind of conceptualizing will help you when you're thinking of ways you can make creative ephemera for your journals. I definitely think, especially if you're buying books, like book pages, you know, it's really great to have things that you can use as like focal point fodder in that way. I think we spend a lot of time focused on like collage fodder, but not a lot of time on like focal point fodder other than like for kind of collage that's just a little bit random and without purpose, like you know, like the collage that you do with prompts, right? You just take, you know, you do some kind of a background and you kind of slap down some kind of a focal point, and maybe, you know, you work around that a little bit. But in this case, like everything that you're doing with the focal points as well as, you know, backgrounds, you're trying to kind of tell a story where all these parts are together. They're not independent parts. So it's kind of a fun way of looking at how to create ephemera in that way. So I'm just going to kind of rough cut around my lovely golden boar here. But I did love certain aspects of this mythology about like how he had this boat that he could fold up and put in his pocket. Now I also grabbed a couple other things. So this, just some twine, because I feel like it's a nice sort of harvest. It's like a plant to product kind of thing. And then I grabbed some flowers, dried flowers here. I may do something with those that might involve some lamination of this whole piece. I'm thinking about laminating. Have my laminator warming next to me here. So now we've got our two kind of focal points. The other thing I grabbed was some Sculpey, super Sculpey, so that I can make some antlers. So next, I think what I'll do is I'm going to go into the seed catalog to try to find some images that I can use with that kind of harvest thought in mind. And I'm looking actually more toward the veggies and things, not just like flowers, because we so often use flowers, right? So let's try to mix it up a little bit, maybe. Okay, we're getting into herbs and veggies here. So I'll pull this page, and then I'll pull this page as well. That should give me a few things, maybe one more to kind of get started and create some sort of a background with a bit of a harvest idea. Okay, so let's just cut out these strips. And keeping in mind, like everything that I'm creating right now, this would account for just like one piece of ephemera in a whole journal, right? That would be maybe mythology related or related to the story of Freyr. So if you feel like, oh, I don't know that I'm necessarily telling the whole story of Freyr in this piece, that's okay. It's only one aspect of everything that you're doing. You know, so maybe using these is like a little bit, it takes away from mythology because it's kind of literal to harvest. But I am completely okay with that. I think it's good to just experiment with things that we have to tell stories. So I'm thinking these could be really kind of cool on here as a background. Mix this up a little bit with colors. There we go. So I'll use those. I'll set the others in my scraps. Okay, so let's just be brave here. I did not do any kind of a proof of concept for this. I just wanted to like make something fun with you, and I guess also just show you like how your brain can kind of take over and guide you on a little adventure. A lot of the things that people say to me on my videos often is, oh, I like how your brain works, or like I like how watching your brain unfold into these things. And I just want you to know, like, that is a natural thing for I think most of us. If you give your time to experimentation, if you give yourself like a break from feeling like it needs to be perfect, it doesn't. Because what you're gonna make will be cool, you know, it's going to come out interesting, I promise you that. Even if it's like nothing you've ever done before. So clearly this is very bright, and I'm already thinking about like needing to tone this right on down, and I'm going to do that in a few different ways. So put this over here for a minute. I need to think about what kind of color I might want to put in this background here. So let's grab some ink. We've got Mowed Lawn. I don't know if I might want green. I don't want that or that. I think I'm going to go with green and brown. So the first thing I want to do is grab my inker. Just looking for the right one, right here, right in front of me. That's why I can't see it. And then I'm just going to like go over the majority of these. Definitely where we have like the white names of things, I want to cover those. And we'll just add a bit of that green ink. Then vintage photo, just to kind of grunge a little bit here and there. Okay. Set those aside. Then I need coffee. Okay, coffee in my spray bottle with alcohol, and we're just going to spray that on here kind of heavily. Just let it sit for a moment. Then I also want some spray acrylic. In like kind of this tone of like turquoise, dark turquoise. Just put this under here. There we go. Then I need to dry this up. Have to get my heating gun. Give me one moment. Okay, so this is dry, so I just wanted to kind of speed through a little bit and show you what I did. So I used, you know, you saw me do the inking in the coffee, and then I used some of this Marabou art spray. It's a mixed media acrylic spray, and the color that I initially used is this mint color, and then I added some of this color, which is silver, and I added some coffee to it as well to give it kind of like a bit of a sparkle, but not make it like super sparkly. So now you can see like it's got some silver kind of marbling in it. It's not 100% dry, but it's mostly there. But I'm going to go ahead and start working with it. Now you see some of this is folded up, and I'm totally okay with that. It's going to move the spray out of the way here. Okay, so now we need to think about how we're going to make this make some sense. So where's my, I'm going to take this other piece of kind of scrapbook, old scrapbook, and just put it down here. So I want him to be right in the center, kind of here. And I want the boar to be kind of down here. Then I need like some kind of, maybe this bit of tree. See if I can kind of make this make some sense here. Some tree. Thinking like a little bit of this tree. This, and then like I'd mentioned, I grabbed some of these plants, so I think this is going to be okay. It's not, like I can see him on the background. It's going to be fine. He's not going to be lost in this kind of tree background. And I want his hand to be up here because I want to put an eyelet through here eventually, and you'll see why in a little bit. Because it's going to help to sort of tell the story. So first what I want to do before I lay this down is I want to just add a bit of green ink around the paper core of the tree here. Real quick. Doesn't have to be super inky, just a little bit. Then I will go ahead and move them out of the way for a minute. And I need glue, which is over here. Just kind of put some rough glue down. Now I mentioned I was going to be laminating this, so I'm not too concerned about overly gluing everything. I just want to get my bits on here that, okay, and I want him to be sort of in the middle as well. Just give him a bit of glue. Now we need our super funny boar. I love this boar. It's the best part of the story. Get rid of that page. Plunk him down here. Because he's going to be in the foreground with Freyr in the background a little here. Okay. Now I want to go ahead and use some of these plants that I've got hanging about here. And I think I might try to thread them down behind the boar and have them kind of laying in a couple directions here. Okay. Thinking about the harvest with all these little bits and bobs of flowers. Nothing too heavy and thick because it's got to go through the laminator. Put a couple up here with the boar. I've got these little kind of dry flowers. It's also prime season to start collecting things and drying them for ephemera too, if you have access to do that. Okay, so I think I'm at the stage now where I will go ahead and laminate this. I'm happy with the number of like things that I have going on, and to get to the next stage I need this to get laminated. So I have just a small laminator and this laminating sheet, and I'm going to trim it down and I'm going to put it inside this laminating sheet. I can let you hang out with me for that, I think. Shouldn't take too long, and hopefully it will go okay. It can be a little bit difficult sometimes to get everything into the laminating page. So I'm just going to cut the top off. So this is a little shorter and it fits in the 8.5 by 11. Move the glue and the coffee out of the way here. Okay, just give myself a little space. And then we'll open up our laminating sheet. I'll just lay it on top of the catalogue here. And lift up this whole thing, and it's nice and firm. Let's bring this in the center so you can see. Now when you're laminating, you want to go in the center and you want to go right up to the end of your laminating sheet. Then just kind of give it a smush. Smush everything down. It's going to get smushed down anyways, so now is the time to sort of arrange it. Now when you go into your laminator, you want to put the sealed part in first, so just give me a moment. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do it here, it's too much to move around, so I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're laminated, but because we're laminated, we're also kind of shiny, but that's okay. So the other thing I like to do when I laminate, when you're doing a really big piece and you're putting stuff like this inside, you can sometimes get some wrinkles and such, but I actually kind of like that. You can prevent it, definitely, if you know you're really careful and you're holding on, but I kind of like a little bit of wrinkliness. It gives it like texture and feeling. So I'm going to go now, and I'm going to use my sewing machine to just stitch around the spot that I want to keep, and you know, get rid of all this extra, and then I'll come back and we'll work on the next part. Okay, so you see I've stitched around, so now what we're going to do, we're just going to cut this around the stitching, and I wanted a little bit of a free form shape, not like a completely straight, you know, edge, and I'm going to do the same thing as I cut this out and keep it a little bit, you know, jaggedy, not jaggedy, but a little unnatural, or not straight. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we have this. So there's a few things that I want to do. This is the stage where anything that you want to glue on, sew on, punch through, any of that, do it now, because afterward we're going to be backing this so that it once again becomes a writing space. So let's move the seed catalog out of the way here. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to put a hole, a large hole. See if I can do this with this. I may need to get my big chomper, but maybe not. It'll be fine, I think, yeah. So I'm gonna just pop a hole right through here. This is just above his hand. And then I wanna grab a grungy eyelet, if I have a grungier one. I've had to order eyelets. I've used so many, there we go. I've used so many eyelets lately. Okay, pop that through. And then just go ahead and stamp our eyelet in. Okay, done. Then I'm going to take some of this nice jute type string, and I want to just add a couple of lengths of it through this hole. Okay. Like that. I guess I want to maybe do this like a slip knot, maybe. I'm not sure if I want to do it as a slip knot or not. Yeah, I do. Okay. So we'll just slip those in. Actually, no, I don't want it as a slip knot. I don't like them together. I want this to be kind of free-formy. Okay. We'll tie those like this. So that'll be like that for now. Now the next thing that I want to do is basically I want to have some antlers that can hang here, that can be thrown up or down, and that will represent, you know, what's going on with the story with the antlers, that he's lost his sword. So let me grab my clay and come right back. So the clay that I'll be using for this is super sculpey. So this is a clay that you can bake in an oven, a regular oven, and it's really great for these kind of projects. It's very durable and rubbery. So I'm just going to use a craft knife here I'm going to cut off what I think I need to make 2 antlers. So I think about probably this will be good. Yeah, that's actually enough right there, I think. I don't even need to take the whole chunk. Okay, and we'll just set this clay aside in case I have underestimated. And then I'm just going to chop it in half. And then just kind of, yeah, I'm going to have more than enough clay, I think, which is fine. We're just going to roll a long worm. And of course this clay is a very strange color at first, but we're going to paint this. Okay, so then toward this end, I'm getting a little sharper. Just trying to make it a little thinner. Okay. Until we get about there. Let's take this off then. I'm going to do another little spot here that's just as sharp. I'm going to bring them together again, maybe. Because then we need to kind of form an antler. We don't want to make this too big though, because we don't want it to be super, super bulky. Just kind of try to round the edge a little. Put these apart a little bit. Just kind of roll it between your hands. If you need to make different sections round, you can go back and reform it, don't worry. But the main thing I'm trying to do right now is to just kind of get it round again. So then you'll see here we're starting to get a little bit of an antler shape. Okay. So there is one antler. And then I want another antler. Okay, that's the long piece. And we'll make this one with this little bit here. The other one is a bit of a guide. And antlers don't have to be exactly the same. They actually aren't in nature either. But you know, you're just kind of going for a general shape of maybe 3. Just round that one a little more here and make it a little sharper. Just rub these lines together a little bit. Okay. Snip that end off a bit and we'll thin that down. And you can use a picture of a deer or antlers to guide you. You know, you don't have to freewheel it like I am and guess, but I think I can do this without too much stress. Okay. Alright, so now we have the general shape of 2 antlers. So now what I'm going to do is take my paper piercer. I'm just going to use it to texture them, and this is why I was saying don't stress out about like the lines that you have. No worries, okay? We're going to texture this whole thing because the antler itself is actually quite textured. If you've ever found a deer's antler on the ground or you've seen one, you'll know that they have a certain They have like striations through them. Okay, so I have fully textured these now and given them a bit of dotting at the bottom, and I've made a hole because I want them to essentially be a bead that I can hang and I can tie through this hole. So I'll set these aside, get them baked, and I will come back so that we can paint them and work on the other elements. Okay, I am back with the baked antlers. So these are hard now. And oops, a little bit of grass on them. Okay, so I now need to paint them, and I'm gonna just go with some Deco Art burnt umber paint. Very simple and inexpensive paint. We're just gonna go over them in brown. So while those antlers are drying, I'm going to continue to work on this piece. So what I want to do now is, you can still see here the word jalapeno, and I want to cover that up. So I'm just going to grab a bit of book spine here. Just some old book spine. I'll just trim a little piece off here. And that's got some good texture, so just need to trim a little more off right there, and that will go there. And then I have a couple, I was trying to decide what kind of a word snippet I wanted to use. I think I'm going to use this one, As If by Magic. And like at this point, you know, if you really wanted to tell a story, you could type something out that was specific to the story of Freyr or to whatever story you want to tell. I'm making mine just kind of like, not exactly like, and Freyr did this or whatever, you know, just kind of some sort of a general bit of text that could exist with this story. Okay. So I've put some gilding in the hair here. I actually did that as well while I was off camera. Okay, so we've got this here. I could add some stitching around that if I wanted to, but mainly we're just going to wait on those antlers to dry up, and then I think that will be the last maybe stage of this. I could also maybe add this little bit of a gold leaf here. I could also thread it on to my, I have a little hole. I have a little hole maker here. Let's make a little hole in it. There we go. We could thread this on here. It's because it's like a golden leaf. And we'll just tie another little knot. A couple of them. Okay, so now we're just really waiting on the antlers. So once the antlers are all dry, I will come back and we will finish this up. Okay, time to finish up these antlers. So the brown paint has dried, and to give this a little bit more kind of a magical feel, I'm going to use some of this Pabeo Gedeo gilding wax in this copper shade. I don't know if it's specifically, oh yeah, Renaissance Gold. So it's like a more warmer gold, that it's almost coppery. And this is just going to bring out the highlights. You see that of the striations where we carved into the Sculpey. So there'll be these majestic golden antlers, and I'm going to do all of the sides and all the little bits in between, because we're going to be tying these on, so they'll be kind of three-dimensional. Well, they are three-dimensional, but you'll see all sides of them. I'm not gluing them down in anywhere. Okay. Let's get all the little bits and bobs there. And this one, this is kind of the fun finishing touch moments of this. Okay. Gilding wax is really nice. It sticks very well to the acrylic paint. Okay, I think that's good. Fingers. Okay. So now, let me try to show you this card without glare here. Hold on. So here, you could get a little bit of a look with no glare. You can see the plants in here, and yeah. So now I want to tie these on, and I don't know if I want to tie them to this. I don't think so. I think I want to tie them with their own string here. I'm gonna find where I'm, oh, there's my hole. 1, 2. Okay, pull that needle off there, we don't need it. And then just tie that through as well. Whoops. Okay, hold on, we gotta make sure we do this the right way. We don't want the back facing out. 1, 2. Okay, so now they are tied on. Now I want to leave a little bit of like slack on this, so that if you wanted to put these inside a journal, they could hang out of the journal. So I'm doing that by tying, you know, leaving some room. See, there's lots of room here, so that these could come up and hang up out of the journal as well, so that if this is what you wanted inside the journal, so be it. Or if you have a journal that has some space to let these lay inside, so be it. So, you know, I think we're doing a good job right now of telling the story of Freyr. So now I just need to back this with some writing paper. And I want to use this same grungy old scrapbook paper that I used for the base. So now we'll just pull this off. And I'm going to take advantage of this little hole here, I think, and just thread that up there. Perfect. Then I will come in and just kind of fold in an unusual way and tear. Actually, maybe I'll just cut. Yeah, it's good. And then we'll fold this up. Okay. So then we'll just glue the back of this down. And I'm just going to use glue stick. This glue stick is really great. This paper is very thirsty because it's very old, so we'll give it lots of glue. I'll flip that a little bit up there. I'm going to keep this. So lots of glue, and it will stick very well to the acetate. Just fold that so it doesn't stick. Lay this here. Use that hole as our guide, which is just kind of a bonus happening. And I'm going to just trim off the excess bits here. I want that to look a little grungy. And then I'm going to add a little green, just here and there. Okay. And you could stamp, or you could put some kind of a saying on the back of here to make it a little more interesting. Like, here we go. So there's our story of Freyr with his golden boar. And you know, he may have lost his sword to win his wife, but he is able to defeat other gods with these beautiful golden antlers. So thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to come on back tomorrow to see what we're going to make tomorrow in this summer mythology Camp Craftopia week. So have a great day. Bye for now.